Hey, what's up guys? It's C-Stacks here, coming to you with another Versus discussion video. Today I am joined again by the Black Hurricane himself, Burt.
What's going on, YouTube, Anchor? How y'all doing, man?
Alright, so today we're talking about the elephant in the room. We're going to beat this dead horse again, as Mr. Ben would say. We're going to talk about online play again. I'm sure y'all are sick of hearing about this, but I wanted to touch on it one more time and also look at it in kind of a different light. Also, just FYI, I'm a little bit sick today, so sorry about that. So first, we're going to look at the history of online play and versus, kind of where stuff gets a little shady. We might rag on Upper Deck a little bit. We'll try not to get into rant territory, but we just kind of want to let y'all know what the story is in versus with online play, because it's got a history, man. And then we're going to move into what the future of online play in versus might look like realistically. So first, let's talk about the history of online play in versus. So if you don't keep up with like all the online groups, like the Collective mostly, you might not have even seen about any of this stuff if you're just a casual player. But there have been a couple iterations of online play for versus 2PCG. First on Octagon. That's OCTGN Octagon. It's an online gaming platform where people make their own fan-made mods. And then there was also Tabletop Simulator, which also you can make your own fan-made games and stuff for that. So Octagon was first. I was never a big fan of Octagon. I just don't really like the interface. But it was cool to finally be able to play versus online. And then someone made a version for Tabletop Simulator, which is a little... I prefer Tabletop Simulator as an interface, but you do have to pay for Tabletop Simulator. You have to buy it from the Steam store. Did you play either of these, Burt?
I played both. So when Octagon first dropped, it was big because we didn't really have much in terms of... I think it came in like right after a Gen Con or something like that, or right before Gen Con. And I played, but I hated Octagon, man. It just felt so clunky. It didn't feel like that's what I wanted to be doing or how I wanted to play versus. Then you fast forward to actually Ben Rueg. I don't know if I'm saying Rueg. Ben Rueg.
I think that's right. I'm not sure though.
Yeah. Well, the fool from New Zealand. He was like, you know what? I don't want to just not play this game. So he's the one that designed the TTS mod. He made the table, he made the draft table, and he imported all the cards on it. And when that dropped, I remember I was like one of the first like 50 to 100 people that was playing that, and I'm like, this is pretty decent. I could see this being a mainstay in how people play this game, especially when people from all over, you hear all the stories about Philippines, New Zealand, Australia, all kinds of people playing this game. And there were so many people on TTS at one point, but yeah, I ended up playing both of them, but TTS was the better platform.
Yeah, I agree. I like TTS better, and you made a good point that like, so when this happened, especially the Tabletop Simulator one, people were like hyped for versus in a way they hadn't been in a while. So Tabletop Simulator came at the tail end of the Legacy drought, and we use that term a lot. So what the Legacy drought is, and maybe we'll make a video about this at some point, but like there was a really long period of almost a year between the Alien battles and the release of the Legacy set where it was just dead air. Like nothing happened for almost a full year.
It was like upwards of 9. It was like 9 pushing 10 months where we didn't hear anything and like no new sets or any kind of spoilers or anything came out. It's a big deal because in that, the reason why we say Legacy drought, because I have this philosophy that this game has hit potholes, like big tire destroying potholes along the way. And Legacy drought, we lost a lot of good people, man. We lost a lot of good men and women. We lost a lot of good people because we ran out of water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And I think Tabletop Simulator was on track to fix that in a lot of ways. I mean, like there was some irreparable damage done by the legacy drought, but
Yeah.
but Tabletop Simulator was doing a lot to fix it as much as it could, because so they started spoiling Legacy really early on, and we got Legacy spoilers for kind of a while before that set dropped. And as that was happening, they kept adding all those spoiled cards to Tabletop Simulator so people could play with them, and like it was getting the hype level up a lot, and people were excited for Versus in a way they hadn't been in nearly a year. And people were getting to play with people they wouldn't normally get to play with, which kind of brings me to another part of online play that's so important, is that it unites the community, you know?
Yeah.
It brought people, it really got people talking, and it got people excited. And it was an exciting time to be playing Versus for like that week and a half where Tabletop Simulator was a huge thing.
I remember the I guess I'll call it cease and desist for TTS, and I just remember thinking, this is terrible. This is an awful thing that's going to happen, because and again, that's the big takeaway from this, was there were a lot of people in the Philippines and in Asia and Australia and all kinds of crazy places where they don't have a Gen Con, they don't have an Origins, but they wanted to play the game anyway, and they played the game anyway, you know? So, like, losing the online space in that way was a big deal. I remember people were like, well, I'm out. I'm done. You guys take care of yourselves, and you couldn't really blame them, you know?
Yeah, it was definitely a big defeat. So, as Burt was saying, shortly after this Tabletop Simulator thing happened, people were excited. People were talking about Versus a lot more than they had been. People were playing Versus a lot more than they had been. People were interacting with people they didn't have a chance to normally interact with. And shortly after all that happened, we got hit with the cease and desist. They came down. I mean, it was Mark who had to do the dirty work, but not to throw any shade on him, because it's not his fault. He's just the middleman, you know. But Mark came down and said, "Hey, we got to shut it down. The Big Brother isn't going to allow this to happen." So he seemed to imply that this wasn't an Upper Deck thing. This was a further up thing, i.e., Marvel/Disney or whatever. And it was just it was a huge blow to the game. All this excitement everyone had been feeling over the last several weeks was just, yeah, it was pretty demoralizing that they just didn't care about the community enough to just let us have this, you know?
Yeah. We lost a lot of good people to that. That was another bad step in the wrong direction. So many people were just like, man, I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have a local game store that even carries the game. My only way to prep for Gen Con and Origins was this platform, and I don't think I can do it anymore. It feels bad, man. We've honestly been feeling the effects of that for a long time now.
Absolutely. And I know Disney is really protective of their brands and all that, but if the idea is that by having this free way to play online is going to eat into profit margins, I think they could not be more wrong about that. The idea that online play hurts the game, I think that couldn't be further from the truth. I think online play does nothing but promote your game.
Right.
Like, in that space where we had online play, people were excited about the game. I don't think there was a single person, or it definitely wasn't the majority of people at least, playing on online play who didn't own every card. I think most of the people who were excited to play online were also the people who were excited to buy every set, you know?
That was the thing too. It was like, well, so it came up in a conversation way down the line where, like, hey, maybe they had to stop online play because they couldn't tell who was buying the cards or not. But everybody I knew was like original freaking Versus players that converted, and they had every single card. They went to every game store that they could win a match. They went to every tournament that they could, and they owned everything, myself included. I own all the cards. So it was just, the whole thing was bizarre, man. Like, you were saying that online play only promotes the game, and like, there's so many people. I remember people were starting the game on TTS and Octagon. like they went and bought a pack and they played that pack online and they're like, oh, this is cool. I'm gonna go buy some more after I'm done.
Exactly. Yes. Like
yeah,
people who will see, oh, there's an easy way I can try this game before I buy it, and they'll go online, they'll play on Tabletop Simulator, or Octagon, and then maybe they'll think, hey, you know what, this game is pretty lit. Maybe I'll pick up a box and teach my friends and family. You know, I think that happens way more often than the other end of the coin, which would be, oh, I can play online, I don't need to buy the box. I don't think that happens nearly as much.
No way. No way. Oh, man.
Yeah, and plus, like, in our game where we do have these long, dry... I mean, let's face it, like, Versus it's kind of an underground game, you know? Like, we're not huge like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon or anything like that. We have a small, very loyal player base, right? And we don't have all that many events a year. We go kind of long spells without being able to play a lot. So I think online play goes a long way to keeping those loyal fans interested during those dry spells. Like, I feel like if we had kept online play, we would have been able to keep a lot of our early players that we lost. I think Gen Con and Origins, I think those events would have been bigger this year if, like, they had a way to kind of, you know, keep their interest, keep themselves invested during those times when there wasn't a lot going on, and then they would be more inclined to buy more product when the time came. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. You're absolutely right on this.
Yeah, so, I mean, I get that it's probably not an Upper Deck thing. It's probably a Disney thing. They're notoriously extremely protective of their brands to a fault. But, I mean, you look at any other number of games. I've been playing UFS lately. A lot of people have started picking up that new Argent Saga game. They encourage online play. It's something that's encouraged in other games because I think they recognize that it's good for the game. And I think it's a real shame that in our game it was stomped out like that. And I think the community has suffered for it.
Yeah, 100%. We lost a lot of good people in the Legacy drought, and we definitely lost some good folks to getting plugged out of the Matrix or getting logged out. I don't get to play as much as I would like. I'm one of the fortunate few that has like 3 or 4 people that I can meet up with on Fridays, but I can't imagine being in this game and you have all the cards, you have nowhere to go, you have nothing to do with your cards, and like it just seems miserable, man. It really does.
Yeah, I hear you. So if anybody from Upper Deck is listening, I mean, I know it's probably not in your control, but, you know, stand up to Big Brother Disney, you know what I'm saying? Put your foot down, say, you know, this will it's ultimately beneficial for you. And another part of this is like, so I'm not a lawyer, I don't know, but I feel like, do they really have a legal leg to stand on if I take my cards that I bought, that I spent money on, and I want to scan them in myself and be able to play online? Like, is there really anything they can do about that?
Well, I'm also not a lawyer, but I would imagine it would go something like, hey, that's my stuff. You can't do that with my stuff, even though, like, you were saying you paid for it and it's in your possession. Like, because those are not just random characters, right? You can't just take Captain America, look at my Captain America card, and slap him on online and just play him and have people copy and paste him and stuff. So, I mean, I get it. They're protecting their stuff. It's their stuff. But I just don't see a world where, like, Octagon or TTS would have led to, like, Marvel comic book fraud or something. Like, what was the big deal, you know?
Yeah, no, I hear you. I agree completely. I think it, as I've said 100 times in this video, I think it does nothing but promote your brand. It's nothing but beneficial to you in the end game.
Well, so, okay, and here's where we transition, right? Because somebody that might be listening might go, okay, Stacks, okay, Burt, well, why do we care? Well, what if we did have an online game, right? And to that I say, Versus DXP.
Yeah, so there is hope, going off what Burt is saying here. So we're going to reference Versus Systems' sister game again here, Legendary. Legendary is another game that's designed by the Super Awesome Games guys, released by Upper Deck, that has many of the same properties that Versus has: Marvel, Alien, Predator, all that kind of stuff. and they have an online platform called Legendary DXP. It is a free app that you can download on the Google Play Store or the App Store. And it's the Legendary game that people know. It runs on the same engine. The key difference here, though, is that it's unlicensed. Okay, so that means that so Upper Deck would need a separate license in order to take their Marvel properties and put them into a digital platform, or their Predator cards and put that onto a digital platform. So instead, what they've done, which I think is pretty clever, is they've taken their same engine. It's the same Legendary game and mechanics, and they've just created their own original IP for it, and put it into a digital game. So it's the same game you've played before, but it's all like original characters. You got like knights and wizards and fairies and stuff. It's mostly fantasy based. I like the art style a lot. You should go check it out. And that's what Legendary DXP is. Have you played this, Burt? I don't play Legendary, so I don't.
Okay, so I haven't played Legendary either, but I want to preface this part of the conversation that we're having by saying the following. Back when Legendary DXP first came out, there was talks on the collective, hey, what does this mean for us? Are we just going to lose to Legendary like always? No. Somebody, and I don't remember who, I think it might have been Mark Shaughnessy, actually.
I believe it was Mark, yeah.
He came on there and he said something along the lines, I wish I knew the exact quote, but he said, hey, we know you guys want to play this game. We know you want to play it in the online space. What we're going to do is, if Legendary DXP pops off, I'm talking positive reviews, people are getting the app, downloading the app, and playing it, and we get good reviews, there may be talks down the line for Versus DXP or something along those lines. Now, I'm not familiar with Legendary. I know it's a different game from Versus, but I remember looking at those reviews and looking at that app and how it was behaving on iTunes, the App Store and things like that. And it has, like, if you go and look, it has 4.5, 5 stars. People that downloaded that game and played DXP on their phones and laptops, they actually had a good time. And I know we could do it. I know we could get away with Versus DXP, man.
Yeah, so then I guess the big question here is, would you Burt, or you the listener, would you play an unlicensed version of Versus? Would you play a version of Versus System 2 PCG that runs on the same engine, it's the same game mechanic-wise that you know and love, but instead of playing as Spider-Man, Captain America, Alien, Predator, whatever, it's just all original characters with original artwork. It's an original property. Is that something that you would be interested in?
Okay, so my answer to your question is actually two-parted, because the first part requires you to have to understand, right? We being the collective, we being Versus 2 PCG players, we are at a crossroads of either our game will live and prosper, right? Or our game will die and suffer and never be talked about again. So when I think about Versus DXP, right, if that were to come 2020, 2021, I think about where we are right now, and would I trade Captain America and Madam Hydra and all the cool funky characters that I'm used to for some elves and witches and Goldilocks and all them, an exclusive Upper Deck IP so that I can play Versus? Yes, 100% I would. My second part to that is, not only would I play random fairy tale Versus, I would actually encourage people to download the app and play it for themselves. We are at the mercy of Upper Deck if they were to put that out, and we don't have enough ground to negotiate on such things as, well, what about Captain America? I want my Marvel characters. Oh. You already know that's a losing battle. So, I mean, unfortunately, you would just have to take it as it is. You would have to, this is a different way to play Versus, right? Then I would think about, well, my cards in real life would actually be a lot better, right? I would have I would have characters and abilities that I wouldn't necessarily have in Fairy Tale Land. So that's my answer. But overall, yes, I would 100% download it as soon as it drops.
Yeah, I agree with you. So, like, obviously for me, the first thing I would think, like, plan A for me would be I think Upper Deck should just step aside and allow Tabletop Simulator to thrive. But since that clearly doesn't seem to be in the cards, if the likely scenario is that we get a potential versus DXP with an original property, I mean, hell yeah, I'd play that, absolutely. I think the case with me, as I think is the case with a lot of people, is I came in for the IP, you know, I was drawn in because I like Marvel, and
Right.
like now I'm in it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you jumped from whatever game you used to be on for the Marvel characters and the lore, the characters you actually cared about. But I feel like I stayed for the engine. I stayed because the game
absolutely.
feels smooth. You know, I actually want to push main characters. I actually want to come up with my own decks and stuff and talk about this game and go to Gen Con and Origins. Yeah, 100%. You came in for the IP, but you stayed for the engine. I truly believe that. So if we have, for some reason, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on versus DXP, and it's like a freaking, it's like a 4-drop with like 4/4, 3 health, flight range, and like you can make a wish and kill your opponent. Like, come on, dude, just roll with it. Like, it wouldn't even exclusive IP from Upper Deck seems really appealing anyway, just because that meant that somebody sat there and drew that and wanted this game to be operational on the card or in the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like, they wanted this game to be played, so they made the cards and they made it work. But for you to turn around and be like, I'm not playing that, I'm not downloading this because where's my boy Hulk? It just doesn't make sense to me. And I get it. Some people care about their IPs so badly. They care about them more than anything else in the game. But we can't split hairs on this. Like, either we get versus DXP and it ends up not being the characters or anything that we want, and we just have to roll with it, or we just don't get it at all and the game continues to be where it's at. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I would definitely make that trade. And if they make versus DXP, I would be in that so heavy. I'd be streaming. I'd be live streaming every week. I'd be promoting the hell out of it. I would be in it, man. And like, Legendary DXP, like it's free to download and free to play against the computer, but there are in-app purchases. You have to pay like a small amount to be able to play online, and then you buy packs and stuff and get more cards. And like, honestly, like, that doesn't upset me. That's fine with me. Like, I get that, like, you have to pay these people. You have to, like...
That's what I was saying. That's what we were talking about the other day is, like, yeah, I mean, you probably have to pay, what, $1 or $2 to play online against other people, but that's kickback for the artists. That's kickback for the people that engineered the app so that they can continue to make the app better and make the experience better overall. I see no problem with that. I honestly, if for nothing else, I wouldn't see a problem with versus DXP being an exclusive IP because, again, that just means that they cared enough to, like, hey, we can't get Marvel, but if you guys hang with us, we can get you versus online, and that's what you guys have been asking for this whole time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't have any problem with it being an original IP. I actually, just from the little bit I've seen of Legendary DXP, I really like the artwork and stuff, and it's pretty interesting looking, and I think it would fit well with the Versus engine. I don't see any problem with it. I think it would be. Be popping.
Yeah, if anything, it'd be just worth a try. Like, hey, maybe these cards are freaking ugly, and I don't want to be a part of this, but you gotta at least give it. I mean, you already know how to play the game, right? And you've been wanting to play online, so I don't see a problem with versus DXP being non-Marvel or non-Fox related. But that's just me.
Yeah, and it's honestly it's been a while since we've heard anything from Mark on this. Over a year, I think, since it's because Legendary DXP premiered versus Gen Con 2018. Legendary DXP came out, so it's been a while since we heard anything. But it's looking more and more likely because a guy joined the collective recently. His name is Ryan Garcia, and he basically popped in and said, hey, I'm new to the game. Is this the right place to ask questions and to talk about it and whatnot? And someone pointed out that his title is he is the digital game content coordinator at Upper Deck. And he joined the collective a couple weeks ago. And someone asked him, hey, are you working on an online platform for Versus? And he said, I'm working on something, but I can't talk about it right now. So fingers crossed that this means that versus DXP is actually in the works. It's in the pipeline.
I'm not even going to cross my fingers. I feel like if you cared about this game and you wanted this game to thrive and you've been asking for online, and I was telling Stacks this offline the other day too, we should like send him an email or something, be like, hey, do you need any help? Do you need like the rule book or something? Like we want to see this succeed in a major way. Versus DXP single-handedly would save this game from the problems that it's in now.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, don't be surprised if there's like a Burt Dark Fairy Warlock in the game, because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna help play this game, but I'm gonna help play test this game, but I want to be in the game. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, that'd be awesome. That'd be killer.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dark Fairy Elf Witch.
You could be
Warlock?
you could be like Burt the Black Hurricane. You could be like a storm, like a storm monster or something with like weather powers, like storm.
Oh, I wouldn't play any other card. Those would be the only 4 cards in the deck.
Oh man.
Yeah, let's but like Stacks was saying, let's hope this thing pops off, man. We've been talked to about online play for this game a while back, and it didn't really go anywhere. Let's hope this Ryan Garcia guy is selling nice toasty bread and not the stale kind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, so I think that's going to do it for our discussion today, guys. Let us know in the comments what you think about online play for Versus. Would you play a non-licensed version of Versus 2 PCG? Yeah, just let us know all your thoughts about online play down below. Burt, you want to go ahead and plug your stuff real quick?
Yeah, man. Check me out, Burt Richardson. I'm on the New York Minute on Anchor. I talk about Versus 2 PCG. Me and Stacks actually started season 2 talking about Transformers TCG. So I just talk about random things. And right now I'm getting ready to wrap up my 5 Life format talk, and we're gonna get into making some decks and stuff. So definitely come check me out. Link below, right, Stacks?
Yeah, that's right.
Link's gonna be below. Okay.
Yeah, and hopefully this week in Versus we'll be back either this week or next. I've just been busy with school and whatnot. I'm also working on, when I have time, I'm working on an updated how to play video, because for new players, there's not a whole lot of resources for learning how to play.
Yeah,
Versus.
There's been definitely like a handful of people coming in since Gen Con, I think, and they're like, hey, how do you play this game? I like this game. I saw it at Gen Con. So definitely check out Stacks' how to play, because come on now, it's gonna be top notch. You know the deal.
Hopefully, we'll see how it turns out. It's a big project I'm working on when I have free time off from school. Anyways, that's what's going on with the channel. Check out Burt's podcast down below, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Peace.